Welcome back to the Sifra channel. Today we'll be making Yemeni Ka'ak. These ka'ak or biscuits stuffed with dates are most commonly done around Eid time, which is our holy holiday at the end of Ramadan, and they're super easy to make. My favorite way to enjoy them is straight out of the oven when they're still moist and warm, but they're also very delicious at room temperature. So let's get started with this super easy recipe. So the first thing I do is prepare my dates. I'm using this pack of plain dates and I've separated the seed from the inside, and you can really use any type of dates. Medjool dates will work, date paste will work, whatever you have access to. Don't worry about what variety it is. Everything will work fine. So starting off with my dry ingredients, I have some plain all-purpose flour as well as my baking powder and a little bit of salt. I'm gonna go ahead and mix these dry ingredients as well as I can, and you can use a stand mixer, but for the sake of demonstration, I'm just gonna show you guys that you can completely do it by hand, and I'm just gonna set it aside. Now in a separate bowl, I'm combining plain whole milk yogurt along with some white vinegar and room temperature ghee. Try to get some high quality ghee, 2 eggs, and some plain vegetable oil. Now go ahead and combine all of your wet ingredients really well. I highly recommend using a handheld electric mixer. I'm not sure why I was lazy and just pulled out a fork, but you really want to make sure this gets combined and is nicely smooth. And what you're looking for is a texture where the room temperature ghee is fully incorporated. So in my stand mixer, I'm going to use my dough hook handle, which is curved as you can see, and I'm going to transfer my flour mixture. You can technically do this process by hand, but I find that the electric mixer does a good job with the kneading. But like I said, you can do it by hand. It'll just take you a little while. Next, we're going to gradually add our wet ingredients that we've already prepared, but kind of drizzle it in while your kneading machine is doing its thing. This way you'll slowly start to see it incorporating, and then once everything has generally incorporated, then you can speed up the handle and let it knead it vigorously. And what you're looking for is a dough that comes together, and you'll know when it's ready when the sides are kind of pulling away and you can see the rim is nice and clean. If you feel like you need to stop and scrape the edges down, go ahead and do that. But in my case, everything looks like it's pulling together really nicely. So now that my dough is looking good and is soft to the touch, I am going to cover it up and let it rest. You want to let it rest for between 30 and 60 minutes, not much longer than that. Now about 60 minutes later and my dough is ready to be worked with, I'm going to flour my working surface with a generous amount, not too crazy, and then dump my flour right on top. And as you can see, it has a nice fluffy airy texture to it. So I'm gonna add a little bit more flour over the top and just give it a few kneads, not too much. I'm basically just pushing the air out of it, making sure that it's not too sticky. If it's sticky, you can add a little bit of flour at a time, maybe half a tablespoon, but mine felt perfect. It's very soft and easy to work with. So now I'm gonna use my rolling pin, and this is really the easiest way to spread out your dough. And what you're looking for is an even surface about 1/2 inch thick. It's important to knead it evenly, roll it evenly, so that when you cut out your ka'ak, everything can cook as evenly as possible. Now, this is probably the most satisfying part of the entire process, and what you need is a cookie cutter. I like to use a relatively large one, but technically any size will work. If you don't have a round cookie cutter that's at least 2 inches in diameter, you can just use a cup, and I've done this many times. It works perfectly fine. My cookie cutter has edges to it. If yours doesn't, no big deal. A clean edge is perfectly fine. And ta-da! it is very visually pleasing. So now that we have all of our ka'ak cut out, we will start with stuffing them. So first I gently pat it down. I don't want to flatten it too much, but just kind of creating a nice base. And then I'm taking half of a date, and it really depends on the type of date or date paste that you're using. Kind of use your own judgment. And then I am just putting it in the middle and folding it over, kind of like a moon crescent shape. Now, there are many different ways to do this. I mean, you can make them into balls or little sambusas like I am, and then we like to traditionally braid them. Now, the braiding took me a few years to learn how to do. I'm still not perfect at it, but I'm gonna go ahead and demonstrate it a few times. So again, slightly flattening the dough on my palm, then taking my date, giving it a squeeze, placing it in the middle and folding over. Now it's important to really lock that in so that when you bake it, the dates don't come out. Now pinch and fold, pinch and fold, pinch and fold, and it's a little bit challenging with nails, so it needs a little bit of practice, or just trim your nails. And that's it. Once you get to the edge, fold it, and that's it. Now repeat this process until you finish all of your dough, and you can even take the scraps, re-knead it, and do the whole thing all over again. So I've arranged all of my ka'ak on a parchment lined baking sheet with just a little bit of space in between. They will grow just a tiny bit, not too much. If you don't have parchment paper, make sure that you put a generous amount of vegetable oil on the bottom so that they can crisp up really nicely. Once that's ready, I'm going to mix 2 eggs and some milk. You can just stick with the egg yolks and do 3 of them. It's completely up to you. Honestly, I've tried both and I don't find that it makes a huge difference. So using a pastry brush, I'm going to generously coat all of them. And you want to make sure that you're getting into those little rims of the braids so that it is evenly cooking and gets that beautiful golden brown color all over. Next, I'm going to dab my finger into a little bit of that messy yolk that I got everywhere and start dabbing on my Nigella seeds. Nigella seeds, black seeds, habba soda, habbat البركة, whatever you want to call it. And I'm putting a generous amount on the top. You can also do a mix of Nigella seeds and sesame seeds, or just sesame seeds if that's all you have. But the most traditional is what you see here. So once I'm done doing that, I'm going to transfer it to my preheated oven. I typically keep it between 350 and 375 degrees Fahrenheit. It really depends on your oven, but what you're looking for is a beautiful golden crust on the top, and it needs to be nicely browned on the bottom as well. It'll be crispy on the outside, but nice and fluffy and moist on the inside. So these ka'ak are best enjoyed on the first day when they're warm. However, if you put it in a tight sealed container, it'll last perfectly fine for about 3 to 4 days. And so now I'm going to arrange them in my traditional Yemeni basket. And what I like about it is that you can really display them in a beautiful way and serve it up for Eid for everyone to enjoy. I hope you liked this video. Please comment below and let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget to share your recreations and tag me on Instagram. All the details and measurements will be down below.